how do we do that though? I mean, personal levels. I know we can do this at the macro levels, right to your senators and all that. But how do we educate people who do not believe this?
I'm not a.
Is there a way to?
No, I'm sure there is a way. It's just beyond my.
Become a vegan.
Well, I am already a vegan, so.
No, at an individual level. No, I have a list of things an individual can
Right.
do.
I'm trying to.
But let me tell you, the individual level is great. It has to be a national policy to make the impact that we are looking for. And so, I mean, individuals can contribute and help, as he said in the morning, they have to get involved. But it's not easy.
In my view, psychologically, there's a tremendous inertia, if I use an engineering term, related to our model of progress. Our model of progress was, we are proceeding on this path, it is progress. Getting an airplane up in the air and having thousands of airplanes is progress, and tens of millions of cars is progress, and we, in that mode of that is progress. And all of a sudden somebody is telling you, hey, that's causing up this big problem. And you say, well, I don't think so. So we are caught in a modernization paradigm, which is our lifestyles are dependent on it. And all of a sudden you tell me I have to give all that up? No, but I think what has to be somehow convinced to people is that you're not asking them to give up things, you're asking them to move in a different direction. I'm in the railroad industry, you've got to switch to another track, and somehow you've got to convince people that switching to another track is going to be better for all of us.
I think part of the, if I may just finish.
Excuse me, that lady has
That
her
lady
hands up.
asked the
Just
lady.
one little thing. I think part of the reason I keep asking this is because as a person who's not in this field, sometimes it can get pretty dire. It's almost depressing to realize that maybe you cannot make a difference. And then I go talk to younger people. I go to a lot of conferences, and 25 and below, they are all convinced. I mean, I find very, very few people who are not convinced about this. But I feel like by the time they're going to be in the position of power, it might be too late. So I want to feel good that there's something we can still do between now and then. That's, I guess, the only reason, really.
That lady has long.
Dr. Shukla, thank you. I have a question. I always think about the villages of India, Odisha. Most of the cooking, most of the population in the villages of India, and the cooking process is by burning woods or the cow dungs, and that creates lot of carbon. That is, and if you notice that basically people who use that cooking medium, they have cups in the morning. It's really bad to see that. And the alternate.
Let me ask the question because they are putting pressure on the top.
Okay,
What is the question?
so there are two ways to go. One is a solar and one is a electricity.
Yes.
So have you thought about that also to global warming question? So I found out actually one maybe providing them the electric induction cooking.
Yes, yes.
So that's
Again, I really feel that this is such a complex problem because you are asking a question which involves mitigation now, and and so on. So there are a lot of people who are working on this problem. There are solar power generated cooking, there are solar ovens, and in fact there is a gentleman here who is there, right. So yes, a lot of people are working on it, try to cut down because it will reduce the emissions, absolutely.
I have a question. The carbon dioxide levels, if I go to Bombay or Delhi, the numbers are over 400 at times. But if I go to Chicago or Atlanta, the numbers are in the 300, 350. But yet you say that America contributes more carbon dioxide.
Okay, let me just
But
tell you that.
but the cities.
No, your premise of your question is not quite right.
Okay.
There is no such measurement in Bombay or Kolkata. What is the CO2 level? You are probably referring to the pollution, the P2M. There is another.
PPM,
Yeah.
2.5.
No, P2.5. That's the measure of the particles.
Particle.
It is not CO2. No.
Okay.
CO2 is such a mixed gas that once it just takes I just told you the same measurement at Hawaii, same measurement at South Pole. So it just gets mixed by the air, and therefore there is no big geographical variation of CO2. And there are sources, so for a while, it gets mixed up. So that's why we always tell you global number, because it gets mixed.
But typically, that's why they always measure it at Mauna Loa and use that as a main thing, is because there's not any effect of
Yeah.
geographical
Oh,
variation at Mauna Loa.
And now there are many sites in the world which are really very sophisticated measurements are being made, because people want to know where it is coming from in their models. They want to put sources. So CO2 is a well-mixed gas.
So the particulates, though
That's
it's
pollution.
That's pollution.
That's the
and
breathing problem and
it
so
causes
on.
breathing problem.
Absolutely.
But
China
it's nothing to
is-
do with global warming.
Well, it has some effect, but that's a different problem. That's not good.
It's a local impact.
And I think that's why, even in my book, I concentrated like half of it on alternative solutions. I think when people start to see alternative solutions, if we can spend money on fleshing out alternative solutions, demonstration sites, that kind of thing, then people might say, oh, okay, that looks good. I can make a transition to that, you know. But anyway, you were going to make some, is there one more question?
I was just going to say one last thing. As you said earlier, and you said too, that polluters are not getting penalized. Essentially, that's the problem here, right? Polluters are not getting penalized, and they're not being held responsible. And the moral stick can only go so long. The political stick helps, I suppose, but the moral stick can only go so long. Okay, we can't. Maybe you're trying to come to an agreement on metrics, but the CO2 signature, right? Ultimately, a CO2 signature for everything we do, can that be agreed upon? So this is not I'm asking your opinion, this has been thought about.
CO2 signature?
As a scientific measure, a CO2 signature on everything we do in the society.
Footprint.
Can
Oh,
that be
that's
put-
what these commitments are. The people, each country has to make a commitment in Paris that every year or every n years, I don't know what the number is, each country will give data
Right.
on where from the CO2 is coming. What are the sources? So that, and if they do, and many of the countries are already doing that, you know, because that's why we have a very good numbers.
Right.
What is for heating buildings? What is for agriculture? What is for driving? What is for air?
Right, my question though, Professor, is that, yes, on a macro level, we are aggregating CO2 signatures, right?
Right.
I'm saying on an individual level, okay, from a product perspective or from an activity, from a scientific perspective, is there any effort to try to assign a signature on an activity or a product perspective, which can be scientifically based and agreed upon?
Absolutely, and each industry
carbon
is
footprint.
actually doing it.
Yeah.
Because, again, partly because of moral pressure,
Mhm.
and partly because they report, because they know that government policies may depend upon what kind of products you are making. So yes, that doesn't need an agreement, that's just a data collection, which is basically going on, because there's no way to enforce it.
Right, no, but I'm saying, on a scientific, this is more easier to agree on than in a politically agreeable number, right?
Agree on what?
Agree on the signature. as
That
from a
signature
scientific-
is well, sort of, there's no controversy
Okay, there's no
about
controversy.
what is the CO2 emissions with the car, and what is it with the drive, and what is this product, that's not it.
Carbon footprint.
And I think the good thing that's happening is most nations are, and companies, like my own company, are becoming very sensitive to appear to be green. And they are cutting down their carbon emissions, they are monitoring their own carbon emissions, and so forth. So a lot of moral pressure already
But I
has
think they're
begun
doing
to
it
happen.
with their own metrics also, I think there's a problem there, but I'll talk to you on the side.
Okay.
Is this data available to the public that's being collected or has been collected?
That this will be made available after Paris conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, the IPCC 5 is available. If you wish, I can send you information on what the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change 5. Dr. Pachauri had talked about that also last year. But anyways, I think maybe we should cut the
Closing comments.
questions
Yes,
and
yes, yes. Thank you.
proceed to